name is Jasmine Baetz, and I'm a ceramics MFA student at CU Boulder. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I think, yeah, I'm an artist. When I first came to Boulder in fall 2017, I was lucky that I happened to go to a screening of a film called The Symbols of Resistance that was produced by the Freedom Archives in San Francisco. And so that seeing that film was my entry point into beginning to understand the civil rights histories on our campus and the history of the Chicano movement and the present of the Chicano movement. They were Chicanx student activists who died in Boulder in 1974 during a weeks long occupation of a campus building that they were occupying in protest of continued difficulties with the university against their program and students in their program and the growth of their programs. And so the first bombing was on May 27th in 1974, and Neva Romero, Reyes Martinez, and Yuna Jekola died in that explosion. And then 2 days later, um, Florencio Granado, Heriberto Terran, and Francisco Doherty died in a second explosion at 28th and Kenyon, and Antonio Alcantar was also in that car, getting back into that car, and he lost his leg. And so, that's 7 people. None of them are with us anymore, but many folks who knew them and loved them, uh, are here and thinking of them, and on a really basic level, providing a space of recognition for that trauma and that pain is really, I think, important for any space, any institution, any city. Um, well, really, the community work happened in spring 2019. So and when I say we, I worked with a number of students and artists and students who don't necessarily identify as artists, but who I think are artists, uh, to hold these community making days, we called them. And so we invited an even larger community in than the students who were actively involved sort of every single week on working on this project. So on these monthly community days, we would come together and invite alumni, who some of whom were even here in 1974. So we had a lot of folks together. In some cases, we had family members of the students who died in 74, and current students. Anyway, it was a lot of people, and creating tiles, talking design of the sculpture. And then as we got a little bit further along, we were laying tiles down we sort of did tile paint by numbers. So we made a template that we had all the tiles set down on. And so it was a great format to have a lot of folks come together to create a whole. So UMAS y Mecha, UMAS is the only remaining UMAS left. So UMAS stands for United Mexican American Students, and it exists as a student organization today. But it originally started in '68 on our campus as an educational opportunity program that then also had a corresponding student organization. But this EOP program was one of 2 EOP programs that brought huge numbers of Mexican American students to campus, Chicano students to campus. So UMAS has always been the organization that has held this memory and kept it present for some, but it's certainly not information that you're going to stumble on if you don't, maybe go to an Umasimecha meeting or to the right one even. Um, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, historical and contemporary, that they're talking about. So,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, I mean, one of the students I worked with said she was part of the org for a while and before she learned about the history, but it's certainly a history that they hold and that they teach about. And so partnering with current and past UMass Imecha students was really important in this project because really, I mean, this sculpture is, I hope, for them and for future them. And I personally, knowing my history, I find really helpful to knowing myself and knowing my present and being able to see where I'm going and sort of the tracks laid out for me and how I might be tripping up. So I really, I value this history for how it can help with self-awareness of all sorts of folks on campus, Chicano students, other students of color, white students who might not have many opportunities to pause and sort of consider their own, um, their place in the story of this campus and the positions that they hold. Well, sort of the way that a sculpture exists once it's put down, it's static in some ways. And so in order to keep it alive and active and doing things, I think thinking of it as a space for activities and for meetings and a space that you go to, that's what um, keeps it relevant and sort of keeps it as something worthwhile, I think. So, I already see that happening, and I hope that can happen in more sort of deliberate and ongoing ways, especially as we hopefully find out soon that it will stay permanently. The fact that it's sort of there on a temporary basis right now, um, I think has made it difficult to really fully engage with it. So once it's even more static than it is materially as concrete, I think just activating it as a site of gathering and of conversations will be really important. Another thing is that going forward into 2020, we're working on having both of the bombing sites marked. So TB1 is in the center of Boulder. It's on CU Boulder's campus. It's the building that was being occupied when these two bombings happened. And then if you're at TB1 in the center and you go southwest, Chautauqua is the first bombing site, and I'm working with a committee of folks who are making sure that that site will be marked by a stone inscription, probably early in the new year, and then to the northeast at 28th and Canyon, that's where the second bombing was, and so that's an opportunity for us to partner with the city of Boulder for them to receive a donation of a second sculpture that we'll make in community. So similar mosaic process, probably, some notable differences in the tile imagery and patterning that we'll have on it, but a very similar material process where many people again can come together, physically make the tiles, and then physically lay the tiles in creating a marker. So, hopefully by summer 2020, all three of these really important historical sites in Boulder will be marked, and that will be sort of a starting point for more conversations and specifically around this history, and then potentially just around what and who are sort of represented and foregrounded in public space.